being here right now. Little bit of an introduction from our side too. Jack, could you maybe start off? Then I'll finish and present the slides directly.
Sure, of course. So my name's Jack. So I'm part of the business development team within the UK for SyncVR. So recently started with SyncVR a few weeks ago. Already been a wild ride. It's been a great experience already. But what appealed to me about SyncVR was, well, coming from a clinical background myself, it was the potential of the actual product. Always had an interest in tech and particularly health tech, and really working for a startup and having an impact and making a difference. I know that can be quite difficult within the NHS and the healthcare market. So this is something that really appealed to me about SyncVR, and it's certainly been that way right from the off. And yeah, I've had a great time learning with a whole host of different colleagues from around the world as well, which is super exciting about SyncVR. It's a multinational company, and yeah, I'm just so excited to continue this journey.
Awesome, thanks, Jack. By myself, Floris van der Breggen, started the company around 3 years ago. Started part-time, by the way, so actually full-time was only 2 years ago. So it's been quite a short trajectory so far, but well, one epic adventure, and I will share with you a few of those adventures in this presentation for a little bit. Then we'll also, of course, try to make you understand a little bit more what we do in general, so that you have a firm understanding of, well, an example of a tech startup in the healthcare scene. So, well, SyncVR Medical, what do we do? From the very start, this is our mission: improving healthcare with virtual and augmented reality. Now, this started 3 years ago with just a tiny idea of seeing if virtual reality could do something positive for, in that case, oncology patients. That was the first story already. Well, there was nothing happening in any hospital with virtual reality yet. However, I saw some pitching opportunity from the Dutch Cancer Society, and I figured, hey, I think it was 15,000 euros that I could maybe use to build a little bit of an application, a software application that could do something for cancer patients. So this wild idea, and if I just tell them that I'm already active in a hospital and I'm already operational, I have ties with that hospital, then they might be actually willing to grant me that 15,000 euros. So, well, without any links to that hospital, I just went to that hospital as well and said, hey, I got this grant from the Dutch Cancer Society, and they're willing to invest in this, to actually run a first pilot test of virtual reality in the department. Well, so that was of course bluffing completely to the hospital, and then also to the Dutch Cancer Society. Both of them bought into it, and in the end, it all happened. So got the grant from the Dutch Cancer Society, and then got this first pilot in the hospital. And that's basically where it started. That was the first experiment of seeing what virtual reality could do for patients during chemotherapy, and that's basically what we built on further. From that single application in one department towards right now almost all hospitals in the Netherlands, as well as, well, quite a few in Germany, in the Nordics, where we entered about 1.5 years ago. And then 6 months ago, we also responded to questions coming from the UK. So yeah, we're active in over 10 NHS trusts, a hospice, and a few other places coming soon as well. With Jack, then, of course, along with the team as well, who this week implemented VR somewhere in South London. It's really cool. Oh, and nearby you guys, do you all live in Manchester as well? Okay, cool. Well, it was the second hospital where we actually became active, in the Children's Hospital. So we're if you would have a kid that goes for dental treatments in a dental hospital, he will be able to be part of a study there where they're showing validation of virtual reality during dental treatments. Now, let's see what we aim to do then. Virtual and augmented reality can have a variety of different use cases for healthcare, as you can imagine, from pain and anxiety reduction to rehabilitation to staff education. Now, this giant variety we aim to be the one-stop shop for. So partly on the technological side, we aim to create a platform, a library of different VR and AR applications specifically for healthcare. Um, Next to that technical part, healthcare is probably the most complex type of organizational structure where to actually embed a new technology. So that implementation part and the experience from all these different hospitals, knowing how to guide a new department with nurses, physicians, all kinds of other specialists and hospital services, guiding them by the hand to successfully use such a new technology. That is at least as complex and at least as important as the technological side. So platform development and then VR app development, as well as practical implementation of VR and AR in hospitals. That's what we do. Now, well, we did that in quite a few places already. Most of these logos are from hospitals on the other side of the North Sea, but well, getting some traction in the UK now as well, which is cool. Now, I mentioned this platform. So what we firmly believe is that in the upcoming years, there will be a giant growth of super valuable healthcare VR and AR applications coming from all over the globe. And then maybe in 2 years from now, the best hypnosis application could come from China, and then the best surgery simulation for orthopedics could come from Costa Rica, so to say. We believe we cannot create all of those ourselves, so let's create this app store, this platform to centralize all of those. So in this app store that you can actually view online to get some examples of VR and AR apps, to platform.syncvr.tech, that's where all those applications come together. And so we partner up with suppliers, with creators of those applications to make those accessible to hospitals. This is an important thing because probably the most complex type of business that you can start or run is a platform business where you have this side of developers on one side of the platform and then the side of users, hospitals, etc., on the other side of the platform. And you kind of have to do a lot of work on both sides to create a valuable platform. So that app store is kind of the storefront. Then on the back side, there's analytics and mobile device management. Not so important for now to go really deeply into that, but good to know that this central hub of VR and AR applications that has quite some complex back-end stuff going on, which will be increasingly important the more applications and the more devices will run VR and AR applications for healthcare. Now, to have a good idea around what these applications actually normally comprise, we see those in three main themes. So let's see, are you joining? So pain, anxiety, and stress is a first big and important theme, not only because VR has been shown to be super effective in that, but also because it's such a variety of ways, such a large variety of ways where it can be used in from the pediatric department to urology to surgery, anesthesiology, etc. Training and education is the second quite important part. So imagine doing your training how to go through the process of a patient with post-operative pain, and then rather than going and training that on other people, you're actually training that in VR. You're going through all the steps. Thirdly, movement and rehabilitation, also increasingly more important. Ever since the COVID crisis broke out, this is increasing and increasing. More dependence on physiotherapists means a lot of stress on physiotherapists, meaning more value for any type of technology that can replace that. So, replacing physiotherapy sessions with VR physiotherapy sessions, that's kind of the idea here. You can imagine that people rehabilitating from COVID after being on the ICU can have a lot of benefits from that. That was that's also one of the examples of clinical studies that we're assisting in. The one that you see on top is a clinical study where about 50 patients or 60 patients now are included using virtual reality for their at-home rehab after being on the ICU. This is an important thing because that's also something I did not know at all when I started this company. I was new to the medical field. Everyone was already telling me, yeah, all the clinical studies are so important. Well, I have to say, in the first year, we didn't actually do any clinical study. This became something important after that first year of kind of, well, making people understand the technology in the first place. Much more important than to really clinically validate this. This is becoming more important now. We're really establishing our place as a kind of the go-to place for VR and AR in healthcare all over Europe. All right, so let's dive into that and those three themes a little bit more, so you have some understanding of what that looks like. Theme 1 that I named, XR in pain, anxiety, and stress reduction. An example is like this, where a patient is going through a needle procedure and then has a headset on about 10 minutes before the needle procedure until a few minutes after, and then having much less pain, much less stress around that whole procedure. And this can potentially replace medication, sedation, all kinds of pharmacological ways to calm down people, as a virtual reality can already do. Let's see, for a very practical example of what that looks like. This is in a Danish hospital that we work with. So here you see, the patient obviously with a Tiger branded headset on. The parent on the side seeing on the tablet what their child is seeing, and the whole procedure just goes as it would normally go. That's kind of the way that works. Could have actually showed you a video that was released only a few days ago by Birmingham Children's Hospital, where they, you see kind of similar images. I should share that after. Second theme, training and education. I already named this example. Any type of nursing training or also physician training are traditionally done, either in the field, like practical experience, as well as in simulation centers. Of course, super expensive. Now, being able to do this remotely in VR or AR can be not only more enjoyable, fun, but also faster and through that much more cost effective. And in times like this, where working remote is becoming the standard, this is pretty important and increasingly becoming important theme. What that looks like. This is one example. So this is one of those post-operative patients. And here you see, these hands are then your own hands with controllers in it, and you're seeing now what a staff member with the headset on is seeing, going through all the steps, and in the end, you would get a score how well you were actually doing. Let's see, movement and rehabilitation. This third theme I was talking about. So, for those patients during that COVID study, for example, what are they then doing rather than their own boring physiotherapy? Something like this, for example, defending their goal. These are all based on physiotherapy exercises, by the way. So you would have regular physiotherapy being all kinds of movements of your arms to increase the reach a little bit more, etc., and some coordination. And now you'd actually be defending your goal, which people find quite a bit more enjoyable. And through that, you see a lot more therapy adherence as well. There's boxing, and there's all kinds of other gamified ways, archery, other ways of doing this than you would traditionally do. It's kind of saber slash game that some people of you might know if you ever had a VR headset on. This is an example of what that looks like in VR, and the different type of treatments that patients go through today. Mentioned as well, technology is one thing. Now, what is at least as important is the practical side of things, implementation. So we have kind of a 4-step process in this. This is, don't want to go too deep into this, but super important to realize is in healthcare, people are busy all the freaking time, and you have to have a really structured way and an empathizing way of of being able to embed new technology and saying to telling a nurse, okay, this is now one of the ways that you can use to calm down patients rather than your pain medication. And there's a lot of work in that to make that structured and make that helpful for the healthcare professional. All right. So that was a little bit of a background. Now, from founding a health tech startup like SyncVR, I want to still tell a few stories about that as well. A laugh, a cry, and a lesson that I want to bring forward. Well, first of all, by the way, a few visuals of what that looked like in the beginning. This is one very crucial lesson that I drew as well. In the beginning, when you're starting up, there's really no one else than yourself who runs the show, and that means you have to do everything, even putting headsets on patients' heads if that's needed. This was in that first oncology department. It was myself and then the developer Freek, who basically made developed all the applications, or the one application that we used there, and myself, we were in the hospital pretty much every day to see how do patients respond to this and kind of get a feel of how could this in the end, when this grows from this single department to more, how could this then work? Hyper focus on this one department. And of course, there's a little bit of thinking and analyzing and all the stuff that you would do in an office. However, this was probably 1%, and this was 99% in the beginning. That's something really important. You're with your feet all in the mud, and it's not comfortable. Most people like to, in general, they like the stories of being in hospital testing. But when you go, like, what's the comfort zone? Comfort zone is behind the desk and then thinking, reading, and writing. Yeah, that's not where you get a valuable startup out of. So that's one thing that I wanted to share already. Now let's see, a little left. So one thing that I always remember from the beginning was, well, my thoughts when I started out were, I'm going inside the medical industry, working with surgeons and stuff like that. And we're a startup, and all these surgeons are so much fun. And I knew them, of course, from being a student myself, and with all the young surgeons around and stuff. Yeah, it's so much fun, drinking wine and pizza, blah blah blah. Well, then in Germany, we're actually starting a first project, and this was with thoracic surgeons here in Klinikum Westfalen, where they started using virtual reality during awake lung surgery. And to my surprise, sort of on that evening when we presented the whole project and we're preparing for the first surgery on the morning after, the surgeons, right after those presentations, say, "Hey, but you're not going home. Go into the clinic again." Okay, what the hell is that? Took us to this room in the surgical building. Wine all around, pizzas, and in the end, indeed, we were eating pizza and drinking wine with surgeons. That was not so long after I had this first fantasy of doing that. And funnily enough, the day after, this was what happening, and those same surgeons were doing super precise surgery, with insane precision as well. By the way, they were insanely good surgeons. And on the morning after, eating pizza and drinking wine all together. Quite something that you don't get. That I didn't get in my regular job before I had this startup. Let's see, little cry as well. Yeah, of course. There is a lot that you have to invest in when you're founding a startup. Working at a startup already means, it's probably harder work than at any regular job. There's more responsibility that comes to it and more learning. Founding a startup, it's yeah, you have to invest quite a bit, not just money, but also a lot of time, and that sometimes also means that there's your personal life gets um, well kind of in the background. So, well, a regular week is this is what a week in the calendar looks like, completely packed, and there's many people who work full time where they say they work 50 or 40 or 50 hours in reality are half of the time drinking coffee and actually chilling out. Well, working at a startup and definitely being in more of the leading roles within the startup, it is pretty freaking hard work, and that means that has meant on my side, for example, that I haven't gotten to um, invest in as many friends as I had in my student life as I do now. So I really had to kind of define for myself like who are the people that I really want to spend so much time on still, because when I only have 2 or 3 evenings that I really can spend during the week with on social activities, yeah, then and I also have a girlfriend and family, then what's my personal life going to look like? And if we make really clear decisions about that when you're in such a role, that has been super difficult. That's absolutely a little what in the theme of a cry, a tear. Now, also a lesson in general is, well, I remember very well from just before I started this startup, um, a guy who was more experienced in starting multiple businesses. He said, okay, when you're starting out, it seems all fun, but in the end, it will be just harder work for less pay. That's in the end when all the kind of excitement uh, um, dries out, then this is what you will feel, and there will be many moments where you just feel like this. And there's all the awesomeness, the direct impact, the freedom, the learning, the creativity, all that cool stuff that people affiliate with working at a startup. But you will only really get all of that out of it if you can also, be completely comfortable that it's in the end more work for less money. Um, and I realized at that point it was for me it was good news because I knew, well, I don't need that much cash to have a happy life. I've internalized the lesson that giant salary is not needed for a very rich life. So I felt like, okay, this is this will be something for me. However, for many people, this is actually the reason why it's not for them, because they are super comfortable and tied to their expensive lives and their super free lives where they need to have freedom from or free time from 3 p.m. every day to not be stressed too much. And that's I think something very important for everyone to really realize, because this is reality. Let's see. Then many people ask me along the way, uh, could start a startup or could join a startup, but could also just start my own. I realized at some point that in the beginning, when I actually started my career and joined a startup, although it was a one-person startup, so it was kind of my own as well, realized that, well, joining another startup might actually be quite a good idea. When you look at the data, you also see this. People who have experience at other startups before are much more successful in running those. I thought, okay, if I maybe join another startup and gain some of the experience there, that might give me so many lessons that I will be more successful in my own. And there are still lessons that I have that I take from every week that I know uh, simply draw from this prior experience. So let's see. So that's I think in a little overview, a little bit of the adventure at SyncVR, and yeah, would be super curious to hear all of your thoughts as well, and the questions that you might have about this whole trajectory and things you're curious about. Um, so yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, for anyone who is thinking, okay, this could be something for after my MBA, there's the website with our job ads, as well as your little email address to send information about yourself about if you're keen. And some general contact details. Let's see. All right. Then lastly, I also want to bring forward, we're doing a little case competition for which you guys would be hopefully keen to, let's see, to go along with. I am trying now to put it into the screen that I'm sharing. So before we go into questions that you may have, just want to introduce this quickly. We'll share the slides that will help you for this case. Case competition means, hey, there we go. You can see this now. A little deep dive into what we do at SyncVR. So this would be a good way to assess for yourself, is this a challenge that I find interesting? So case competition around market penetration. And well, I will share this with you afterwards. But basically, this case competition is around, well, your ideas, your advice on the best market penetration strategy for endeavors of SyncVR Medical in the UK. As I mentioned, we're just active for 6 months now, probably, in the UK. And well, Jack only joined a little bit of 2 weeks ago. So we're super young, and there's a lot of value in, well, smartness around how to actually approach this new market. Shall we do it exactly as we did in the Netherlands and Germany, or are there different ways of going about the NHS and the UK healthcare market? So if you're interested in that, I will share this with Emily after as well, so we can take part of that. Let's see. That is what I wanted to present to you guys. I'm super curious to hear anything that you are thinking about, that you have questions about, or well, anything that you basically want to say or ask. Stop presenting.
That's super. Oh, thanks, Floris, for that presentation. I think I just jumped in front of Domi. I think might have tried to raise his hand, but I've got a couple of questions. I don't come from a healthcare background at all. Come from a Chinese studies background into then careers, so nothing to do with that. But I've got chronic pain is very, very close to my heart, not personally, but my mum has been suffering for a long time and has struggled a lot with medications and things like that. So very, very interesting to always be looking. We're always looking at new and exciting things that we can try. So it's really good that it seems to be getting into the UK. So it's a question on the actual kind of, I guess, on the physical therapy side itself. I don't know if this is something that you've done research on, but do you find, obviously, she's also had to do some of those exercises where it's reaching here and reaching there and finds the whole thing quite dull and doesn't really see how it's helping. But do you find that you would, in that situation, have patients that would overexert themselves? Because you see a lot of those videos on VR of people falling over in shops and things like that. Do you ever find that, or do you find that because of the nature of what you're doing, it's actually not like that?
Mm-hmm. So it's super interesting that you mentioned this, because most people just have doubts about, will people actually use VR in rehabilitation, which was our first question, our first doubt as well. And then it ended up being exactly as you say, some people were over exercising. So then luckily there's monitoring in the background as well. So the therapists who you as a patient are connected to can still see what is this patient doing, and then still being able to kind of intervene. And that was indeed needed for many patients, because otherwise, yeah, there's one can say you cannot do enough when it comes to rehabilitation exercise, but there actually is kind of a max to it. So yes, there have been cases where there were patients who were actually over exercising, and therapists who just needed to tell them, hey, the advice is to do exercise for 30 minutes a day, not 8 hours straight.
Yeah, that Saber game is quite addictive. I have played it once, especially when you miss one and you lose your streak and then you just keep going back. But yeah, excellent. And then the second question is more on a recruitment side. So you've got some open jobs. I know we've been backwards and forwards a couple of times on what will be next in terms of working with some of the MBAs and the master's students, in terms of internships, projects, that kind of thing. But where do you see, obviously the case is predominantly on UK market penetration, and obviously clearly on a BD front with Jack's recent kind of hiring. So is that kind of where you see the kind of the growth of the business? Is it going to be in sort of business development roles? Is it in more kind of consulting roles, more in technical roles? Where do you see kind of some of the UK team kind of going in that direction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, at a startup, we decided to have hyper focus in what we do, and also in then the people that we want to have inside the team. So there's two things that we always do as a company. One is building an awesome product, and one is then implementing or selling that awesome product. And then there's also two types of roles. There's people who are building that, who are mainly software developers. They are all around the globe. We're all remote. So there's people from Dublin, south of Spain, whatever, Netherlands as well. That is always an opportunity, but that's not necessarily in the UK. Mm-hmm. Then for the second part, business development. So all the people that make sure that healthcare organizations know about the product, that we implement it in the right way, that we also build the teams, that we get into reimbursable healthcare, all of the complex stuff that comes with it as well. For that, there's local teams everywhere. So mm-hmm. Right now, Jack and I are doing a lot of work on the UK market. For myself as a founder, because I know that Germany and the UK are the most important markets for us, and I want to be super close to that from the very start. And now that will be built up in the coming time. So depending how well we do there, it could be a team of, well, still a one-person show by Jack by the end of this year. It could be 10 or it could be 20. That's really depending on traction. But that's in that business development. From a super junior role, so to say, just out of grad school, to super experienced people who are super passionate about this and want to take more leading roles. Mm-hmm. Either of those are possible within this business development team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super. Thank you.
Let's see. I see a hand being raised by Beatrice. You're muted. Still muted.
Beatrice, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
There you go.
Hey there. Right. So I was saying that I have quite a lot of questions. So if other people have questions, let me know and I'll stop talking. So my first one is about kind of related to Emily. So in the chronic pain bit, like I can't understand how it would help for rehabilitation and for short periods of time where people are in pain, like getting injections and all that. But with the chronic pain, is that just for things like, I don't know, bad back or something that physiotherapy would help?
Well, there's for many different indications, there are different applications. So there's let's see if I have anything to share on that part. So when it comes to chronic pain, one of those one of the applications that's being run there is around movement and physical rehabilitation. However, what you can also imagine is in such a space, one of the other applications is then to do more education around what pain really means and visualizing pain traveling throughout the body and things like that, which is a completely different application that's made by one of the third parties on our platform. But there's many different applications that can work for several indications, and it's basically yeah, there's a variety of ways to approach questions like chronic pain as well. Then.
Okay, but it is very much on the basis of movement there. For example, for a person that suffers from chronic migraines or
Mm-hmm.
fibromyalgia or
Mm-hmm.
endometriosis, something like that is not something that can be helped with movement so much. Is that something that VR can also do some help, or is that something a bit more far away, maybe in the future we'll look into?
So this was just the example that I just showed, which was based on movement. But we're actually going to start two studies in the upcoming months. Two studies in endometriosis. One using this other application where it's not about movement, but it's about visualizing pain and how pain works. It's education in VR, simply because VR can leverage different methods of understanding certain concepts than traditional methods, validating that. And then the other study will be around these movement exercises, seeing if that works better than than general physiotherapy. Then a third one, by the way, is also in the second study we'll also compare that to virtual reality relaxation. So just simply very advanced hypnosis-based relaxation exercises and seeing if those can have a lasting impact on chronic pain. And this is all, as you can kind of interpret from my story, this is all quite in movement now. These studies are starting up, and those studies will also probably give a lot of ideas for future applications or for current effectiveness already.
Okay. If you need volunteers for the study, unfortunately, I can help with that. So, yeah, hit me up if I would love to try some new stuff.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
On that note as well, I also see that there's on your, I think it was the second slide, still on the same area for gynecological procedures. Do you mean the same sort of thing like when the kid was getting a little procedure? So you give VR to women to relax them and make the procedure more easy, or is there anything else to it?
No, that is something else. That is more about relaxation and distraction in a certain way. I can actually show you a bit what that looks like. Yeah, let's do it as well. So then, for example, you would be guided by a voice and by the visuals through some sort of visual worlds, and the brain just clicks into these new worlds, and through that, much more relaxed, much more calm.
So it's like visual guided meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah. So again, there are so many ways that you can. Basically, we see this app store and this virtual reality in general. It's like a virtual reality headset is like a smartphone. You can use a smartphone to take photos. You can do it to check your calendar. It's a tool that you can. There's a toolbox with many different instruments, and each instrument can be completely different and working on complete different mechanics in the brain and in the body as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting because all those procedures are just so uncomfortable. Just the thought of going to the doctor sometimes is just makes you it gives you pain just to think about it. So having some sort of distraction, it sure makes it easier.
Absolutely, and for some indications, relaxation can be really beneficial. For example, during IVF and all kinds of gynecological procedures. Indeed, for others, like pediatric surgery, it's much more effective to show a patient before the surgery what the OR looks like, and to have that preparation. through virtual reality. So then again, it's a complete different application, something else that you show in virtual reality, but then still working on the same outcome of relieving stress and anxiety.
Okay. In another topic, in terms of, sorry, if anyone else has questions, I'll stop. Okay.
Nothing from Alex.
I think some people got fed up of listening to me talking. I'm sorry about that. So last question then. On the training, did you have to set up during the pandemic? Because I know, at least in the UK, training nurses and doctors that were still studying were asked to go to the hospital straight away. So if this was set up during the pandemic, do you think it took? Did they give enough time to actually do this sort of trainings when there was so much pressure from the NHS to have them on the field and to have them working? Do you think that the medical service actually, in times of need, still give this the importance that they should?
That's a good one, and there we see indeed there's with COVID, it brings a lot of stress on current ways of doing things and on the shift of new ways of doing things, and that makes it difficult to introduce new products, new technologies. So that kind of decreases their demand for something new like virtual reality. In the meantime, you also see that it is simply more effective to do it in virtual reality than to do something in traditional ways. And COVID has brought a whole shift in thinking and a lot of urgency to any digital health type of product. So we see on the one hand it's super difficult practically to implement stuff. At the same time, there's a rise in demand because people simply see that it's needed. So it's it goes both ways. In general, the majority of time of existence of SyncVR has been during the pandemic, and it's never really slowed down. So I guess the rise in demand is compensating for those practical difficulties.
Thank you. And will we be offering internships as well?
Sorry?
Would you be offering internships for
MBAs?
Yeah,
we surely will. Actually, we created a little description of such a role only this week. So we will do that, and that will be on a certain topic, business development topic that is important and urgent right at the start. So the actual challenge to actually work on then is to be defined, because we want to make sure that people who will do this actually have something really substantial to work on. This could be penetrating a new market, like whatever, elderly care market in the UK, or it could be creating a new marketing campaign, or it could be an analysis of the NHS in some certain way. We will open up those opportunities, and the actual challenge will be announced then. But yes, short answer is yes.
Fantastic, good to hear. Thank you.
Cool, and definitely would like to get it to stay in touch as well. Just personally, since you might just have some benefit from actual applications that are on the platform. So would be keen to stay in touch with you yourself as well.
Yeah, I already have your LinkedIn page open, so I can contact.
Yeah, I was about to ask if we can actually follow up on any of these things later on through LinkedIn. That's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then do connect to me on LinkedIn at Jack as well, and then we're super open to chat through LinkedIn, or have a one-on-one chat at some point as well.
Great.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you both very much, Forrest and Jack, for coming along today. Are you okay to share the recording? Is that all right? And then I can make sure it gets more widely distributed. Then I know that what I'll do is I'll pick up with you both offline on the case challenge. I think it's something we can route through a couple of our student clubs. I think that would be really good, so we can pick that up and hopefully get some good ideas back. Maybe it help form some of the internship stuff and just form some ideas and see what we get back from that.
100%. Yes, this recording we'll definitely share. So feel free to distribute that, and let's get in touch indeed about the best way to distribute the case competition case as well. Could be something interesting to start working on as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for coming along today. I hope you both have a good rest of the day and a good weekend. And yes, really, really excited about this, and we'll be hopefully the start of a good long-term relationship, and hopefully get you get into some more hospitals and helping some more people in the UK with the help of our fantastic students. But I hope you both have good weekends, and I'll be in touch soon. And thank you, Beatrice, Raya, Alex, for your engagement and staying on the call. And speak to you all soon.
Yeah, thanks all. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.